In our journey in life, it has been said that we are like links in a chain. Que cada generación, each generation, passing on the strength and wisdom of those who came before us. Nuestra cultura, our faith, and our sense of community are the treasures that we inherit. Y es nuestra responsabilidad. It is our duty to protect them and pass them on to the next generation. As it's been said, and I don't know who said this, but I found this really great quote, and it's the following. Como ancianos, as elders, we are the keeper of the flame, ensuring that nuestra herencia, our heritage, continues to burn brightly for our families, nuestra comunidades, our community, and our faith. Ladies and gentlemen, episode 2, Celebrando Latino Heritage Month, is sharing about nuestros ancianos and what we can learn from them. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go. What is up, everyone? To all of our listeners and those that are viewing, this is Fuel Pasión Podcast. I am your host, Noan El Boricua, and I'm excited because we always talk about how do we immerse ourselves dentro de la cultura, how do we grow in our faith, and more importantly, how do we make those conexiones in community. And I'm excited because I wanted to give a special shout out to my mother-in-law, Esther, who is actually celebrating 80 years old this Friday. And I'm just super honored because our boys are blessed to have an amazing abuelita, and my wife has had an amazing cornerstone. And that word, you're going to hear that later on. My wife has had an amazing cornerstone of not only Esther being her mom, but more importantly, being her friend and just really that special person in her life. And for so many people in our family, as well as just within our community of friends. And I think it's really great. So I just want to give a special shout out to my mother-in-law. We love you, and we just praise God for your life. And we hope you enjoy all of what this day is for you at the time of this recording. Now, during this special season of Latino Heritage Month, as at the time of this recording, which I hope you can consider to subscribe and maybe add this to your podcast platform of different things you're listening to or on YouTube watching it. I think for us is, as we understand, how do we celebrate herencia, inherent, and I don't know why I can't really say it in English, but anyhow, one of the key people that I think, and this is something that I think about, and you might see me over here because I have a lot that I wrote, so I hope we have enough time to share about this, but I think one of the biggest things that I've understood is that nuestros ancianos, our elders, are truly the keepers of nuestra cultura, regardless of what part of Latin America your family's from. They are truly those keepers of the culture. I think, as I said earlier in the opening, they are the torch bearers of our traditions, nuestras tradiciones. And here's the beauty, man. How many of our abuelitas are just really great storytellers who really connect us with our roots and tell us where we came from? I think for me, when we understand that their sabiduría, their wisdom, for many of them, their resilience and the life experiences are so invaluable treasures that we need to cherish, and more important, we need to learn from. So as I'm celebrating Latino Heritage Month with each and every one of you, I want us to really just take a moment and really acknowledge, como poder reconocer y dar ese amor, that giving some of that love to all of the sacrifices that they've made, the challenges that they've overcome, and really all the love, todo ese amor that they've poured into preserving our heritage, nuestra herencia. And I think for me, it's understanding like, they are the embodiment of historia, right? Our history, y la fundación, that foundation upon which we are going to build for our future. So for anyone out there that you just know, an elder, un anciano, una anciana, this is for them, because I think that if you can share this with them and say, hey, look, this is what I think of, and this is something I wanted to share with you, and maybe you put it in your own words as you send this, this episode. My hope is that you can really see the importance of understanding, how do we honor them? How do we recognize them? And more importantly, how do we continually learn from them? Because here's the beauty of nuestros ancianos. They constantly, they make us laugh, they're funny, but they're also so insightful. And let's keep it real. Some of our abuelitos, abuelitas, they're pretty hardcore too. And I think for me, one of the greatest things that I love, especially at my local community church, is that we have a huge elderly population that we just love on them, and that we take time every couple months to take them out to dinner and build community for them and honor them. And I actually had a chance to be on a project with some of my team here where we actually had them interview as we celebrated 55 years of our church. And I think for me, it's important to understand where our elders came from, what they did to overcome, but more importantly, how they got people like me to be here now and to be able to continue to pass that torch, that flame, to keep going for those future generations of many of you that are probably young adults, or maybe you guys are in college and you guys are super excited to see what life has to offer. All right, so I'm standing up. I've been trying to sit down, but I feel like I get so excited that I got to be standing up because I don't know. That's just who I am. I think I used to host a lot of events, so I'm used to kind of like talking while I'm standing. But story for another day. Okay, when I think about our Latino elders, they provide insights to familia, comunidad, and faith. And a lot of it is really based on life experiences. So I'm gonna give you some super high level insights, and I have a challenge for you at the end of this episode that I hope you are willing to take on. So, one of the first things that I think that our ancianos offer us that I hope we can recognize as we're celebrating Latino Heritage Month is number one, the just family values. I think that a lot of our elders have always emphasized, and tell me if you guys know where I'm coming from, man. They always talk about the importance of familia, mijo, mija. Like familia is everything, unity, strong bonds. And a lot of times they stress these values of being able to spend time together, apoyando, right? Supporting one another, and really passing down some cultural traditions to many of the younger generations. I think for me, one of the greatest things that I've always loved to see is when I remember my abuelita, this is like years ago, I was a teenager, and I remember that one of her famous traditions was always to be able to make her famous flan. And let me tell you, I think my wife is probably one of the best people that really throws down on some really good flan. I can be biased on that. But I know for sure my abuelita, she really tried to share that tradition to my brother and I. And we just did not catch on to that tradition. But I think what we did catch on, though, is the importance of really spending time together with the people that you care about. She always had people come over. She always ensured that they were fed. So if she was too tired because of arthritis in her hands, besides her knees and her hips, pretty much everywhere, she always would tell us, hey, go to the donut shop, buy a dozen donuts, bring it back, because this is what I'm going to give to my friends or to some family that would come over. And my brother and I, dude, we used to love doing that. We used to ride our bikes to the donut shop. Not only that, this donut shop is still around too. It's in Lawndale off 152nd and 152nd and Halton Boulevard. And I think for me, what I loved about this donut shop was they have some dope egg rolls. Now, I haven't been there in a minute, so I can't tell you if it's probably hopefully it's still the same family that has passed it down. It was great just to have some good food. Again, I always say music, food, and sports is the greatest thing that unifies humanity. All right, going back to this. I love family values that our ancianos shows us. Not only that, the other thing is that they give us, and this is a shout out to all my, Mexicanos, Mexicanas, like the si se puede attitude, the resiliency, right? Because many of our elders, and again, you could probably relate to this, they face so many challenges coming maybe into this country or maybe growing up in this country. They had adversity that they had to overcome, maybe learning a second language, trying to become an entrepreneur, getting that education and buying their first home. Like for me, I think there are so many great stories, and the list goes on, that they show us this resilience, that they can inspire that by really doing what I said earlier, sharing those stories, aka storytellers, of how they overcame the obstacles, and emphasizing this perseverance in the face. Like they just persevere, right, in the face of adversity. And I think for me, I get to hear some amazing stories growing up. And I think some of the greatest stories that I've even heard is people that just never thought they would be alive to be able to see their great grandchild do the greatness that they're doing. And when you hear these stories, like for me, it's just that there's inspiration behind that. And I think the other thing is not just really this family bonds and resiliency, but it's also the esta herencia or this heritage of cultura, right? This cultural heritage, because they are the gatekeepers of that. You guys ever had someone that you'd be like, no, 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 let's go to abuelito, let's go to tío, right? They know what's the real thing, right? And they understood the custom. They understood of like, for many of our people that love tamales, like there's some hardcore traditions and ways that people go about it. And the masa and the meat and the sauce, like there's so much like heritage in food within the Latin culture and community that for me, it really encourages young influencers, young foodies of generations to be able to preserve these like traditions of making the best tamales or making the best, arroz con leche or making, man, I'm getting really hungry right now. Just making some really good food. But there's also this cultural heritage of music, of dance, folklore. Like, there's so many great things that we can see that our elders just hold on, man. Look, I think it's amazing when I see just men and women that wear their heritage, their culture, and they speak to it. Like, there's some great content creators that are elders that teach us about culture, teach us about history. I want to know who's someone that you know that can teach that as well in your life. And I think for me, the other one is, and I'm going to scroll, so I'm really excited. Another one is really fe, like faith. And many of our Latino elders, muchos de nuestros ancianos, tienen su fe, that they share their spiritual beliefs, their prácticas. And can I be, how many of our ancianos, right, abuelitos, abuelitas always tell us, mijo, mija, que Dios te bendiga, que Dios te guarde. Or what's the other saying? Si Dios quiere. Like, come on. Like, I love our elders, how they just constantly are trusting in God, are challenging. Look, I know there's some of you that, some of your abuelitos, abuelitas have been waiting for you to take them to church again. So again, like, this is something that I really love about our elders that we can celebrate. Look, you'll see the guest I'm going to have for you guys later on in the season. And the last couple one is the beauty of comunidad. Like, I think a lot of times due to the pandemic or just due to social media and just technology, we don't understand the importance of community engagement. And I think our elders really highlight the importance of giving back to community. And, maybe they're involved in a salsa group, or maybe they're involved in, giving back to the homeless. Maybe they're involved at a food bank. Like, a lot of times we see our elders that even volunteer at the hospitals. Like, I love the dynamic of volunteers at hospitals. They are elders and they're young people. Like that, like, to me, in my own opinion, I think a hospital can give us a true context of what it looks like to pass down certain traditions and moral values to our younger generation. And I think for me, we get to see that many of our elders, they were activists. They were the ones in the front lines fighting for better wage. They were the ones fighting for better equality. They were fighting for the si se puede for the Latinas and the women. Like there are so many of our elders that you just, look, we don't know because now they're older. Their health may not be as strong as it used to be. But let me tell you, man, them people were in those front lines. They were the ones that were fighting for equality and the rights of being and able to have a better life, not just for themselves, but for you and me. Which leads me to the last one. Is at the end of the day, they show us sabiduría y paciencia, wisdom and patience. And I think for me, it's all about life experience. We need to value patience. Look, when I'm driving, I'm not that patient. I talk it out. My wife's my witness and my son. I talk it out so I can get this patience. But I also know that as a bonus, there's this legacy and this generational continuity. Woo! That's a word in English that I really don't know how to say. Our elders emphasize that we need to create that legacy, that we need to create, this thing about how do we pass down to our future generations, a wealth of legacy, or a legacy of wealth, or a legacy of wisdom, or a legacy of education, or a legacy of community. Like, there's so many things that we're gonna deep dive a little bit later in this season from some of our elders that I think is really dope. And I think, like, this is why they're so humble. Like, it's a humble flex. Until you visit some of our elders and you get to see maybe some of the plaques and the awards that they have, you just don't know, because they don't want to just show off. I mean, I don't know how many elders I know that go on social media to show off stuff. They don't. They're just about it. They just live it out. And this leads me to my challenge for each and every one of you. If you have been listening to many of our elders, our ancianos, of their historias, de la sabiduría, the wisdom that they bring, I want to know who has been that source of inspiration for you. Who's an elder that has given you inspiration around just familia, around inspiring communities, and strengthening cultural ties, and really building moral values even more in your life? Who's that someone that not only you can tell me about it, but that you can call them? Wait, that you take them out para un cafecito, or maybe a panecito, maybe both. I don't know. I would love to challenge you to think of someone, not just your abuelito or abuelita, but maybe your neighbor, maybe your coworker, maybe someone in your neighborhood, or even at a community function that you see that they deserve to be heard. And more importantly, for us to be able to say, muchas gracias. Gracias por tu vida. Gracias por tu ejemplo. Gracias por tu amor hacia la familia, hacia la comunidad, y hacia mí. I think that our elders, I don't want to get emotional. Many of them don't get to hear that. And especially like men and women within our Latin community, they need to hear that. We need to give them their flowers yesterday. And, I hope you have someone in your life that has mentored you. I got love for my elderly people, because they've taught me to be the speaker that I am today. They've taught me to be the mentor. They taught me to be the husband, the father. They've taught me to be the leader, and they taught me to be the storyteller that I am today. And some of them are family members, and many of them are people that I can call friends. So, muchas gracias. Thank you so much. And let's continue to be those links to the chain, y seguir esta generación, y invest in our future generations. Because one day I'm gonna be elder. I mean, I already got the grade coming in, right? And I'm excited to hopefully I can continually, with good health and just a full spirit, that I can be able to just be someone of inspiration for them, the younger generation, and also just for anyone within my community. So I think this episode was really just kind of thinking how important nuestros ancianos are so vital to who we are when we think about us as Latinos and Latinas, and celebrating Latino Heritage Month. So if you found value in this, I hope you can like it. Hopefully you can share it. And man, I get emotional. Look, you guys are going to hear it in a lot of episodes. So look, I want to celebrate what we do. And I think this is why we celebrate la herencia de quienes somos. Y nosotros seguimos pa'lante. So check us out, fuelpasionpodcast.com, y immerse yourself in la cultura, grow in your faith, make those conexiones, y como dice mi abuelita, que Dios te bendiga.